Saving Lincoln sounded really interesting, and in general, I thought it was not too bad. This was released in 2013. It's directed by Salvador Litvak, written by Litvak and Nina Davidovich Litvak, with a cast including Tom Amandes, Lea Coco, Penelope Ann Miller, Joshua Rush, Creed Bratton, Adam Croasdell, and various others. And the description from Letterboxd I thought was interesting because it says as follows: the almost entirely true story of Abraham Lincoln and his self-appointed bodyguard, U.S. Marshal Ward Hill Lamon, a banjo-playing Southerner who followed repeated attempts on the president's life and kept him functioning during the darkest hours of the Civil War. And the words almost entirely true did make me somewhat nervous. Because on the one hand, I like my historical films to be as accurate as possible, but at the same time, I feel like most historical films have some kind of creative license. They're not always going to be a carbon copy. Sometimes there are changes or additions to help the narrative flow. So I don't know exactly how accurate this is, or if there are any significant inaccuracies. If anybody knows, please feel free to let me know. But from as much as I can tell, it's generally based on truth. But if anybody knows anything to the contrary, please feel free to share. It is certainly an intense film with very passionate performances. Sometimes I felt some scenes were maybe a little bit too dramatic. Scenes that were not that powerful in narrative were a little bit over the top, but those were few and far between, thankfully. The story is interesting. I was really enthusiastic about this one and I really wanted to learn. And again, I took everything with a pinch of salt, but I did learn a lot nevertheless. And I feel like everything flowed well. The pacing is really good. The performances are good for the most part as well. However, I do not like the visuals. I don't like the lighting. I don't like the colour palette. The camera work is fine, but I feel like it's otherwise not nice to look at. And it is a style choice. It's not that it's badly done. But personally, I don't like the lighting and the colour choices. So it's not that it's bad. It's simply a personal preference. It's an acquired taste. And if it works well for you, then you might really thoroughly enjoy the film. I just didn't enjoy looking at it. But it was fine to listen to. Really good, crisp sound, which is always a benefit. And obviously it addresses some important topics, quite thought-provoking at times, well-written characters, great performances, as I said, for the most part. So I didn't absolutely love it. But at the same time, I would never say that it's a bad film. I think it will appeal to some people more than others in terms of its execution, the visuals. But as a topic, I thought it worked well. If I were an expert on the topic, maybe I'd feel differently. I don't know, and I'd love to know your thoughts if that's the case. But from my perspective, I enjoyed the educational aspect. I did enjoy the story. I didn't enjoy the visuals, but ultimately, I came away from it feeling reasonably satisfied. And with that in mind, I'm happy enough to recommend Saving Lincoln.